for substitute House Bill 1238. And I will note there are two proposed substitutes. Does the sponsor, Representative Riccelli, intend to withdraw the .2 version?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Moreno, Mr. Maxson.
Thank you, and good morning, members of the committee. For the record, Ethan Moreno, nonpartisan staff to the House Education Committee, speaking to Substitute House Bill 1238. You were briefed on the underlying proposed second substitute 1398.3, and as you will recall, that proposed substitute requires school districts beginning with the 2023-24 school year to provide no-charge breakfast and lunches at qualifying public schools. There is an amendment to the proposed second substitute. It's H 1500.1, also sponsored by Representative Riccelli, and that amendment does a number of things. It makes the obligation to provide meals without charge to students in qualifying schools apply in schools in which the education services are provided to students in any of the grades of kindergarten through grade 4 instead of kindergarten through grade 5. It makes the obligation to provide meals without charge to students in qualifying schools apply through a 2-year phase-in period with application for the 2023-24 school year for schools with a 40% free and reduced price eligibility, and 24-25 school year for schools that are between 30 and 40%. It specifies that the requirement to provide meals without charge to students in qualifying schools does not apply to schools that are participating in the federal community eligibility provision that have not completed the duration of the CEP's 4-year cycle. It also restores the threshold requirement of 40% free and reduced price lunch eligibility for the mandatory establishment of school breakfast programs, but requires school districts subject to funding and beginning in the 24-25 school year to implement school breakfast programs in schools that are required by the underlying bill to provide meals at no charge to students. It limits the applicability of the Learning Assistance Program and National Board Certification bonus provisions to qualifying schools that are required to provide meals under the bill itself, and it also makes a technical change to clarify that reimbursement provisions for meals apply to the no-charge meals provided in accordance with the legislation itself.
Thanks, Ethan. So the amendment, James Maxson, staff to the committee, the amendment reduces the estimated cost of the bill. The change to kindergarten through 4th grade rather than kindergarten through 5th grade would cover slightly fewer schools and students. And the phase-in of schools over 2 years would further reduce the first-year cost. OSPI data, using OSPI data, it estimates that the annual cost for covering schools serving any grade up to 4th rather than 5th and phasing in would cost approximately $7.43 million in the first year and $16.04 million thereafter per year, for a 4-year cost of $55.5 million, approximately $13 million less than the version you heard Wednesday. The limiting of the Learning Assistance Program and National Board bonus formula changes to only those schools affected by the free meal requirements in the bill reduces the impact of those provisions as well, particularly for the National Board bonus, which would presumably affect few schools as elementary schools above the 70% poverty level. The Learning Assistance Program provision still could cost a few to several million per year, though these costs are indeterminate and will be lower than the version you heard Wednesday. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you. Questions for Representative Schmick?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in the past, free and reduced rural lunch was how we track poverty in the districts. Now, does this change anything? Because that tracking of the poverty levels in the district has a lot to do with Title I funding that came. How will this bill affect that?
Representative Schmick, it doesn't affect the requirement that schools provide the application forms to families. It's still voluntary for families to provide that information. So the requirements governing the distribution of those applicants or applications do not change with the legislation before you today.
Thank you. And any other questions? Thank you both very much. Madam Counsel.
The next item is
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the proposed second substitute, I think H draft 1398.3, be reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
It has been moved and seconded that second substitute House Bill 1238 be reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation. There are amendments. Representative Riccelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move amendment H, I'm sorry here, 1500.1.
It has been moved and seconded that the amendment H 1500.1 be adopted. Discussion. Representative Vercelli?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This phases in the school meals. It skinnies it a bit to make it a little more palatable going forward, but it focuses on some of our youngest learners in our highest poverty elementary schools, and I would ask for a yes vote.
Thank you, Representative Vercelli. Additional discussion? Representative Sandlin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We agree with this amendment, and I urge a yes vote.
Thank you, Representative Sandlin. Are there any other comments? Will all members wishing to adopt the amendment H 1500.1, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The amendment is adopted. Representative Berquist?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that the adopted amendment be incorporated into Second Substitute House Bill 1238 and that Second Substitute House Bill 1238 be reported at committee with a due pass recommendation.
It has been moved and seconded that Second Substitute House Bill 1238 be reported out of committee due pass. Discussion. Representative Vercelli?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Food is health. We know that our students aren't going to learn, grow, and play and stay healthy if they don't have the nutrition they need to thrive. Last year, we added 722 schools and 346,000 students to universal meals. We saw what universal meals could do during the pandemic to reduce childhood hunger. I brought forward a pretty aggressive policy to cover all students, and I still support that measure, but incremental steps are important, and particularly this legislation we have before us will make sure our youngest learners have access to that nutrition. So we'll be bringing on by 2024 and 2025 a total of 634,000 students of our 1.1 million, and I think that that's a good step forward. I think this is targeted, and I'll continue the work, but I would ask for a yes today for kids, because feeding kids can't wait. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative Vercelli, for your work and thoughtful comments. Representative Sandlin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're going to be mixed today on this bill. I actually voted no out of committee for this and heard about that from my wife. She's a substitute school teacher. I appreciate the words that the prime sponsor has for this issue, and I certainly agree with everything that he says. I voted no because I thought there was a learning opportunity to talk about agriculture in Washington State, and I think the prime sponsor is going to work on a floor amendment with me to recognize that and have it be something we can all agree on. I urge a yes vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Sandlin, and thank you for the reminder that we all do have to go home. Representative Schmick?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I have concerns with, and this is from my local superintendents, I need some clarification about if the people aren't going to turn in their forms about the poverty levels, because this does have effect on Title I funding. And so I'm going to vote no without recommendation, but I hope we can clear that up before it gets to the floor to make sure that we're not putting funding at risk, especially for some of my smaller schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Schmick. Are there any other comments? Ms. Norzai, will you please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Rep. Ormsby?
Ormsby, aye.
Ormsby, aye. Rep. Bergquist?
Representative Berquist votes aye.
Bergquist, aye. Rep. Gregerson? Gregerson, aye. Rep. Macri? Macri, aye. Rep. Stokesbury?
Stokesbury votes aye.
Stokesbury, aye. Sorry, could you repeat that?
Aye.
Stokesbury, aye. Rep. Chambers?
Chambers votes aye.
Chambers, aye. Rep. Corey?
Corey, aye.
Corey, aye. Rep. Berg?
Berg votes aye.
Berg, aye. Rep. Chandler?
Chandler votes nay.
Chandler, nay. Rep. Chop?
Chop votes aye.
Chop, aye. Rep. Connors?
Connors, aye.
Connors, aye. Rep. Couture?
Aye.
Couture, aye. Rep. Davis? Davis, aye. Rep. Dye?
Aye, no without recommendation.
Dye, no without recommendation. Rep. Fitzgibbon? Fitzgibbon, aye. Rep. Hansen?
Representative Hansen is excused.
Rep. Harris?
Harris, aye.
Harris, aye. Rep. Lekanoff? Lekanoff, aye. Rep. Paulette?
Let aye.
Paulette, aye. Rep. Riccelli? Riccelli, aye. Rep. Rude? Rude, aye. Rep. Ryu?
You votes aye.
Ryu, aye. Rep. Sandlin?
Aye.
Sandlin, aye. Rep. Schmick?
No without rec.
Schmick, no without rec. Rep. Sen? Sen, aye. Rep. Simmons? Simmons, aye. Rep. Slatter. Slatter, aye. Rep. Springer. Springer, aye. Rep. Steele. Steele, aye. Rep. Stonier. Stonier, aye. Rep. Derringer.
Aye.
Derringer, aye.
Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, will you please announce the tally?
Mr. Chair, there are 27 aye, 3 nay, and 1 excuse.
Your vote, second substitute House Bill 1238 is reported from committee with a due pass recommendation. 1291. Good morning, Ms. Van Horn.
Good morning, Chair Ormsby and members of the committee. For the record, Jessica Van Horn, staff to this committee. The amendment for proposed second substitute House Bill 1389, which you heard briefed, is Van Horn 116, offered by Representative Ormsby, and it is a standard null and void clause.
Thank you. 9, Representative Berquist.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that proposed second substitute House Bill 1389, H draft 1429.1, be reported at committee with a due pass recommendation.
It's been moved and seconded that second substitute House Bill 1389 be reported of committee due pass. There are amendments. Representative Berquist.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move adoption of Amendment Van Horn 116.
It has been moved and seconded that the amendment Van Horn 116 be adopted, the standard null and void clause. All members wishing to adopt the amendment, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The amendment is adopted. Representative Berquist.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that the adopted amendment be incorporated into proposed second substitute House Bill 1389, and that second substitute House Bill 1389 be reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
It's been moved and seconded that second substitute House Bill 1389 be reported out of committee due pass. Discussion. Representative Macri.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Asking for the committee support on this bill. We know that the housing crisis is not equally felt, and that the nearly 40% of Washingtonians who are renters in this state are feeling the intense impacts of dramatically escalating rents. This bill will protect renters from extreme rent increases and fees. At the same time, a lot of thought has been given to ensure that landlords and property owners are not harmed by this policy. While it draws from policies in other jurisdictions, including other West Coast states, there are new concepts in here intended to ensure that new development continues. So we passed a bill out of here just earlier with the intent to build more housing supply, which is essential. And this bill works to ensure we don't impede that, and also protections that we think will particularly assist our small landlords by providing exemption processes and a new concept to roll forward banked capacity to increase rents at future times. So asking for a yes vote.
Thank you, Representative Macri. Additional discussion. Representative Connors.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This has been a very hard topic. We've all received a lot of emails about this, and I think it's the plight of two different folks. We have the renters on one side that have been, drastically affected the last couple of years by increases of prices, but we've also had, the folks that are providing homes to these renters that have also been hit by high fee increases. They've been hit with property taxes going up. I don't know about everybody else in the room, but mine went up 13% this year. There's been increases in repairs. There's been increases in supply chains. We've talked to a lot of really individual mom and pop housing providers, and they've told us the stories that they've tried to keep their rents low, sometimes only increasing by 1% a year. And a bill like this would unfortunately make them have to do the maximum increase every year, which would actually maybe put some of these folks out of their houses. And then we've heard from a lot of the housing providers that if this bill actually does go into effect, it's going to cause them to probably put their houses on the market and sell their homes. And these homes are the affordable housing. They are within our communities that our folks are renting and staying. And so there's a lot of concern about what this will do. And as far as the building industry, I think we should look at some of the other states that have imposed these rental caps and see what's really happened. Are we then going to lose folks that will come in and build higher level apartments if they know that they are not going to be able to increase rents when prices go up? And so I understand the plight of both parties. I feel for both parties, but I also think we have to look at how rent and housing costs goes down is by supply and demand. And if we do not have builders coming in to build the houses, and we have folks then selling their affordable housing, are we going to be in a bigger detriment than we already are? And so I'm encouraging a no vote on this today. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Connors. Are there any other comments? See none. Ms. Norzai, will you please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ormsby?
Ormsby, aye.
Ormsby, aye. Bergquist?
Representative Berkowitz votes aye.
Bergquist, aye. Rep. Gregerson? Gregerson, aye. Macri? Macri, aye. Stokesbury?
Stokesbury votes no, do not pass.
Stokesbury, no, do not pass. Chambers?
Chambers, no, do not pass.
Chambers, no, do not pass. Corey?
Corey votes no, do not pass.
Corey, no, do not pass. Berg?
Berg votes aye.
Berg, aye. Chandler?
Chandler votes nay, do not pass.
Chandler, nay, do not pass. Rep. Chop?
Chop votes aye.
Chop, aye. Connors?
Connors, nay, do not pass.
Connors, nay, do not pass. Couture?
No, do not pass.
Couture, no, do not pass. Davis? Davis, aye. Dye?
Dye votes no, do not pass.
Dye, no, do not pass. Fitzgibbon?
Aye.
Fitzgibbon, aye. Hanson?
Hanson, excused.
Harris?
Harris, nay, do not pass.
Nay, do not pass. Lukanov? Lukanov, aye. Paulette?
Aye.
Paulette, aye. Riccelli?
Aye.
Riccelli, aye. Rude? Rude, no, do not pass. Ryu?
No without recommendations.
Ryu, no, without recommendation. Sandlin?
Sandlin, no, do not pass.
Sandlin, no, do not pass. Schmick?
No, do not pass.
Schmick, no, do not pass. Sen? Sen, aye. Simmons? Simmons, aye. Slatter? Slatter, aye. Springer? Springer, aye. Steele?
Steele, nay, do not pass.
Steele, nay, do not pass. Stonier? Stonier, aye. Derringer?
Aye.
Derringer, aye.
Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, will you please announce the tally?
Mr. Chair, there are 17 aye, 13 nay, and 1 excused.
By your vote, second substitute House Bill 1389 is reported from committee with a do pass recommendation. Madam Counsel?
Item number 11, Substitute House Bill 1439 has no amendments. Item number 12, Substitute House Bill 1470 has the standard null and void amendment. And then the next and last in this group is Substitute House Bill 1474.
Ms. Van Horn, Ms. Vasek, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Audrey Vasek, staff to the Housing Committee. Substitute House Bill 1474 creates the Covenant Homeownership Account and Program to address the history of housing discrimination due to racially restrictive real estate covenants in Washington State. The committee was briefed on the proposed second substitute H-1415 offered by Representative Chop. As a refresher, the proposed second substitute creates the Covenant Homeownership Account and a document recording assessment of $100 beginning January 1, 2024 to fund the Covenant Homeownership Program. There are 2 amendments to the proposed substitute. Vase 013 by Representative Steele amends the proposed second substitute to require 1% of the monies collected from the $100 Covenant Homeownership Program document recording assessment to be deposited in the Washington State Library Operations account.
Jessica Van Horn, staff to this committee. This amendment will have an impact to the amounts of revenue collected that are deposited into the new Covenant Homeownership Account. As a reminder, for the underlying proposed second substitute, it's assumed that there will be $50 million in revenue in fiscal year '24 and $100 million per fiscal year thereafter. Under this amendment, the distribution would be $500,000 going up to $1 million for county auditors, then another $495,000, and then $990,000 in later fiscal years to the Washington State Library Operations account. And finally, the remainder of $49 million in fiscal year '24 and $98 million per fiscal year thereafter would be deposited into the new Covenant Homeownership account.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Vasek or Ms. Van Horn? No questions. Thank you very much. Does that cover our amendments on our first tranche?
There's an additional amendment.
I'm sorry, Ms. Van Horn.
Vase 014 by Representative Connors eliminates the $100 document recording assessment and specifies that the funding for the Covenant Homeownership Account would come from legislative appropriations and transfers. It also limits the operation of the Covenant Homeownership Program to amounts that the legislature appropriates for this specific purpose.
And this would change the impact from the new revenue source to presumably general fund state, and it would make the costs indeterminate as they would be subject to appropriation.
Great, thank you. Any questions? No questions. Thank you very much. Does that conclude the amendment briefing, Madam Council?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So the committee will go at ease for Republican and Democratic caucuses. The Republicans will be caucusing in the briefing room. Democrats will be caucusing in House Hearing Room C. And we anticipate the Representative Berquist.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that Substitute House Bill 1470 be reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
It has been moved and seconded that Substitute House Bill 1470 be reported out of committee due pass. There are amendments. Representative Berquist.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move adoption of Amendment Walker 375.
It has been moved and seconded that the Amendment Walker 375 be adopted. Standard null and void clause. Will all members wishing to adopt the amendment, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The amendment is adopted. Representative Berquist.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that the adopted amendment be incorporated into Second Substitute House Bill 1470 and that Second Substitute House Bill 1470 be reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
It has been moved and seconded that Second Substitute House Bill 1470 be reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation. Discussion. Representative Gregerson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's such an honor to talk about this bill today. I don't know how many of you have toured a private detention center and how hard that is to do. And if you think about how easy it is to tour our other detention centers throughout Washington State and to get those questions and answers about how people are being treated there. This bill isn't about providing luxury items. This is literally about having Department of Health be able to get the information that's necessary to make sure that people that are in our private detention centers have access to quality, air quality and room temperature. And I remember hearing about food that had maggots in it and just basic human rights. And again, this is a population that we know very little about what's happening in those centers, and that's right here in Washington State. And so I hope you'll support a very small change to allow for Department of Health to be able to adopt these rules and to ensure that we can understand what those conditions are happening in those private detention centers. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative Gregerson. Additional discussion. Representative Corey.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. The good gentlewoman is right. I think that there is a lot there that we should be doing to make sure that the standards at our detention facilities are fair, humane, and respectful for what we value in our state. There are still some concerns on the underlying bill. Specifically, I'd like to point out the private right of action we have some concerns with, as well as the Public Records Act piece, subjecting them to the PRA as a private detention facility. We know that our state institutions that are engaging with them are subject to the PRA, so we feel that that may be more appropriate. We're going to reach out to the prime sponsor to see if we can't rectify those. And I know there was some county concerns around specific facilities that they were using and whether or not they would be able to continue to operate if this bill were to pass. So for today, we're asking for a no while we work through those details as this process is likely to continue on. So asking for a no on our side.
Thank you, Representative Corey. Are there any other comments? Seeing none, Ms. Norzai, will you please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Rep. Ormsby.
Ormsby, aye.
Ormsby, aye. Berquist.
Representative Berquist votes aye.
Berquist, aye. Gregerson. Gregerson, aye. Rep. Macri. Macri, aye. Stokesbury.
Stokesbury votes no, do not pass.
Stokesbury, no, do not pass. Chambers.
Chambers, no, do not pass.
Chambers, no, do not pass. Corey.
Corey, no, without recommendation.
Corey, no, without recommendation. Berg.
Berg votes aye.
Berg, aye. Chandler.
Chandler votes nay, do not pass.
Chandler, nay, do not pass. Chop.
Chop votes aye.
Chop, aye. Connors.
Connors, nay, without recommendation.
Connors, nay, without recommendation. Rep. Couture.
No without recommendation.
Couture, no, without recommendation. Davis. Davis, aye. Dye.
Dye, no, without recommendation.
Dye, no, without recommendation. Fitzgibbon. Fitzgibbon, aye. Hanson. Harris.
Harris, nay without recommendation.
Harris, nay, without recommendation. Lakhanoff. Lakhanoff, aye. Paulette.
Aye.
Paulette, aye. Riccelli. Riccelli, aye. Rude. Rude, no, do not pass. Ryu.
Ryu votes aye.
Ryu, aye. Sandlin?
No with that recommendation?
Sandlin, no without recommendation. Schmick?
No, do not pass.
Schmick, no, do not pass. Sin? Sin, aye. Simmons? Simmons, aye. Slatter? Slatter, aye. Springer? Springer, aye. Steele? Steele, nay, do not pass. Stonier? Stonier, aye. Theringer? Theringer, aye. Mr. Chair, there are 18 aye, 12 nay, and 1 excused.
By your vote, second substitute House Bill 1470 is reported out of committee with a do pass recommendation. 1474, Representative Berquist.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that the proposed second substitute House Bill 1474, H draft 1415.1, be reported out of committee with a do pass recommendation.
It has been moved and seconded that second substitute House Bill 1474 be reported out of committee do pass. There are amendments. Representative Connors.
Yes, I move. I don't have the number in front of me. Sorry.
I think it's VASE 014.
Correct. I move VASE 014.
It has been moved and seconded that the amendment VASE 014 be adopted. Representative Connors.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There was a lot of discussion in the House Housing Committee, just not specifically on the underlying terms of this bill, but on the alternatives to funding the bill. We talked a lot in the House Housing Committee about trying to decrease the cost of housing this year and why $100 doesn't seem like a lot to increase the document recording fees. Washington State, as I am reading currently, has the highest document recording fee in the United States before this increase. As Representative Schmick brought up, recent increases were $13 for affordable housing, $62 for local homelessness and housing, $8 for local homelessness and housing surcharge, and then another $100 surcharge in 2021, making us the highest in the nation. So, what we're really asking for is to find another source of funding for this program. So with that, I encourage yes vote.
Thank you, Representative Connors. Additional discussion. Representative Lekenoff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the good ladies at the other end of the aisle. Good morning. We appreciate the good explanation. We appreciate the thoughtfulness of the costs, and we appreciate the Housing Committee coming up together with the fee here. Unfortunately, we'll be asking for a no vote. We'll have further discussions, I'm sure, on working towards on finding solutions to address those concerns. But today, I'm sorry, we'll ask for a no vote, please.
Thank you, Representative Lekenoff. Are there any other comments? Will those wishing to adopt the amendment, Basic 014, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no.
No.
The noes appear to have it. The amendment is not adopted. There are additional amendments. Representative Steele.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment VASE 013.
It's been moved and seconded that the Amendment Basic 013 be adopted. Representative Steele.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If we are going to go ahead and assess this fee, then I think we should do what we can to support the operations of our state library. So I'm simply asking that 1% of this fee be moved into those operations accounts and allowing them some flexibility and finally some good funding to do the work they're doing on behalf of all citizens of Washington State.
Thank you, Representative Steele. I'm respectfully requesting a no vote on the amendment. I believe Representative Steele makes a good point about the funding of our state library. During this very seminal housing crisis moment, I believe we should be marshaling all available resources so that folks can have a roof over their head and a bed under their back and a meal on the table, and I think that takes priority. I believe we do need to come up with adequate funding for our state library. I do not believe this is the appropriate mechanism to do it, asking for a no vote. Are there any additional comments? Will all members wishing to adopt the amendment Basic 013 please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no.
No.
The noes appear to have it. The amendment is not adopted. Under the motion before us is proposed second substitute House Bill 1474. Discussion. Representative Chop.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Hornsby. Really appreciate it. House Bill 1474 had a great hearing in the Housing Committee with essentially 2 hours of very compelling testimony and 850 people signed in support. This is all about home ownership. The Covenant Home Ownership Account is a constructive response to past housing discrimination, and it will help people achieve the American dream. Please vote yes.
Thank you, Representative Chop. Additional discussion. Representative Stokesbury.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Regretfully asking for a no vote today. Certainly some very noble goals in this bill, recognizing some very deep injustices from the past that this bill would seek to rectify. But unfortunately, with the amendment from Representative Connors not being adopted, I'm not ready to support the bill and am urging a no vote. This committee, most of the other committees in the legislature have been talking for years about the need to make homes more affordable for everyone, both for historically disadvantaged communities and those that aren't part of those communities. But raising the document recording fee another $100, making the process of buying and selling a home more expensive is just not the right way to make home ownership more affordable. So I think this is a worthy goal, and I wish that it would be a priority of state government to fund out of the general fund, but I'm not sure making homes more expensive to buy and sell is the way to accomplish making homes more affordable. So urging a no vote.
Thank you, Representative Stokesbury. Are there any other comments? Ms. Norzai, will you please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Rep. Ormsby.
Ormsby, aye.
Ormsby, aye. Bergquist.
Representative Bergquist votes aye.
Bergquist, aye. Gregerson. Gregerson, aye. Macri. Macri, aye. Stokesbury.
Put it on some paper.
Stokesbury votes no, do not pass.
Stokesbury, no, do not pass. Chambers.
Chambers, no, do not pass.
Chambers, no, do not pass. Corey.
Corey, no, do not pass.
Corey, no, do not pass. Berg.
Berg votes aye.
Berg, aye. Chandler.
Chandler votes no, do not pass.
Chandler, no, do not pass. Chop.
Chop votes aye.
Chop, aye. Connors.
No, do not pass.
Connors, no, do not pass. Couture.
No, do not pass.
Couture, no, do not pass. Davis. Davis, aye. Dye.
Dye, no, do not pass.
Dye, no, do not pass. Fitzgibbon. Fitzgibbon, aye. Hanson.
Hanson excused.
Harris.
Harris, nay without recommendation.
Harris, nay without recommendation. Lekanoff. Lekanoff, aye. Paulette. Paulette, aye. Riccelli.
Aye.
Riccelli, aye. Rude.
Rude, no, do not pass.
Rude, no, do not pass. Ryu.
You vote aye.
Ryu, aye. Sandlin.
Sandlin votes no, do not pass.
Sandlin, no, do not pass. Schmick.
No, do not pass.
Schmick, no, do not pass. Sin. Sin, aye. Simmons. Simmons, aye. Slatter. Slatter, aye. Springer. Springer, aye. Steele.
Steele, nay, do not pass.
Steele, nay, do not pass. Stonier. Stonier votes aye. Stonier, aye. Theringer.
Aye.
Theringer, aye.
Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, will you please announce the tally?
Mr. Chair, there are 18 aye, 12 nay, 1 excused.
By your vote, second substitute House Bill 1174 is 1474. By your vote, second substitute House Bill 1474 is reported out of committee that do pass recommendation, and that is this section of Ms. Adams, Ms. Walker, hello.
Substitute House Bill 1492 is the bill that creates procedures and requirements for the vacation of convictions in light of the State v. Blake decision and the refund of LFOs and other costs for qualifying convictions and non-convictions. The First Amendment is Adams 037 by Representative Paulette. This relates to the reports that the Administrative Office of the Courts must compile of all qualifying convictions and non-convictions for each court. The amendment removes the requirement that these reports include the person's name, birth date, and last known address. And in addition, it removes the provisions that specify that these reports are exempt from public disclosure under the Public Records Act. Thank you.
And the fiscal impact will remain unchanged.
And the last amendment that's in your books is a standard null and void.
Thank you. Any questions? Madam Counsel.
The next item is item number 17, which
Representative Gregerson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that substitute House Bill 1492 be reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
It has been moved and seconded that substitute House Bill 1492 be reported out of committee due pass. There are amendments. Representative Paulette.
Mr. Chair, I move Adam 037.
It has been moved and seconded that the amendment Adams 037 be adopted. Discussion. Representative Paulette.
Mr. Chair, we heard in committee testimony of concerns about the public records exemption, how impractical it would be for our clerks and others and for media access to transparency for our courts. And the prime sponsor worked with stakeholders to have a very good solution, which is not do the report that would trigger the problem and remove the exemption. So that's what this does.
Thank you, Representative Paulette. Additional discussion. Representative Rude.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We agree on the amendment.
Thank you. Are there any additional comments? Will all members wishing to adopt the amendment Adams 037 please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The amendment is adopted. There are additional amendments. Representative Gregerson.
Thank you. I move Walker 376.
It has been moved and seconded that the amendment Walker 376 be adopted. This standard null and void. All members wishing to adopt the amendment, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The amendment is adopted. Representative Gregerson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that the adopted amendments be incorporated into second substitute House Bill 1492 and that second substitute House Bill 1492 be reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
It has been moved and seconded that second substitute House Bill 1492 be reported out of committee due pass. Discussion. Representative Simmons.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill is about creating efficiency in a big problem that the state has, which is vacating all of the past drug possession convictions based on the Blake decision and refunding the legal financial obligations of that people are owed. I've worked with a lot of stakeholders on this, and the AOC director of the Refund Bureau actually stopped by today to remind me that they already have $100 million at the AOC for the Refund Bureau to do this work, and that this bill will really help give them guidance and clarity on what it is they need to do starting in July. So I hope that the committee will move this along, and I will continue to listen to concerns, but I think I have a lot of education to do as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative Simmons. Additional discussion. Representative Rude.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think we're mostly going to be a no on this side today. There are still concerns about prosecutors, allowing prosecutors to, I'm sorry, let me start over. Prosecutors should be allowed to refile non-Blake charges that were part of a Blake-related plea deal. So that's one concern. And then still concerns about the cost, but look forward to talking to you, Rep. Simmons, about this further.
Thank you, Representative Rude. Are there any further comments? Seeing none, Ms. Norsai, will you please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ormsby.
Ormsby, aye.
Ormsby, aye. Bergquist.
Bergquist votes aye.
Bergquist, aye. Gregerson. Aye. Gregerson, aye. Macri. Macri, aye. Stokesbury.
Stokesbury votes no, do not pass.
Stokesbury, no, do not pass. Chambers.
Chambers, no, do not pass.
Chambers, no, do not pass. Corey.
No, do not pass.
Corey, no, do not pass. Berg.
Berg votes aye.
Berg, aye. Chandler.
Chandler votes no, do not pass.
Chandler, no, do not pass. Chop.
Chop votes aye.
Chop, aye. Connors.
Connors, no, do not pass.
Connors, no, do not pass. Couture.
No, do not pass.
Couture, no, do not pass. Davis. Davis, aye. Dye.
Dye, no, do not pass.
Dye, no, do not pass. Fitzgibbon.
Aye.
Fitzgibbon, aye. Hanson. Harris.
Harris, no, do not pass.
Harris, no, do not pass. Lukanov. Aye. Lukanov, aye. Paulette.
Paulette, aye.
Paulette, aye. Riccelli.
Aye.
Riccelli, aye. Rude. Rude, no, without recommendation. Ryu.
Ryu votes aye.
Ryu, aye. Sandlin.
No, do not pass.
Sandlin, no, do not pass. Schmick.
No, do not pass.
Schmick, no, do not pass. Sen. Sen, aye. Simmons. Simmons, aye. Slatter. Slatter, aye. Springer. Springer, aye. Steele. Steele, nay, do not pass. Stonier. Stonier, aye. Theringer.
Aye.
Theringer, aye.
Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, will you please announce the tally?
Mr. Chair, there are 18 aye, 12 nay, 1 excused.
By your vote, second substitute House Bill 1492 is reported out of committee do pass.
5, substitute House Bill 1559.
Welcome, Ms. Henry and Ms. Ross. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. As a reminder, Substitute House Bill 1559 creates Student Basic Needs Campus Task Forces, one for the public four-year institutions of higher education and tribal college, and one for the community and technical colleges. The bill also creates campus benefits resource hubs and a free and reduced price meals pilot program. There are 2 amendments. Ross 014, offered by Representative Slatter, requires the establishment of the Student Basic Needs Task Forces for each institution of higher education and the tribal college, instead of a single task force for those institutions. The amendment also simplifies the way reports to the legislature to be conducted by the tribal college and community and technical colleges, but does not reduce reporting requirements. Finally, the amendment extends the deadline for the establishment of the task forces for the public four-year institutions and tribal college, and requires a student basic needs survey be conducted biennially instead of annually. The second amendment, Ross 015, offered by Representative Chambers, adds opportunities focusing on meal plans and housing that the task forces must consider in holistically supporting student basic needs, access to benefits, and community resources.
The fiscal impact of Ross 014 is indeterminate, but the original fiscal note in the original bill did have four-year institutions facilitating their own task forces, and there is approximately $1 million difference in the fiscal notes from the original to the substitute for the 23-25 biennium, so could estimate about $1 million difference for the 23-25 biennium and a $2 million difference for the four-year cost. The fiscal impact of Ross 015 is indeterminate, but having task forces include additional considerations could have a minor fiscal impact for the task forces. There's also Henry 072, which is a standard null and void offered by the chair.
Thank you both. Are there any questions? Thank you. Madam Counsel?
For the next item on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Substitute House Bill 1559 be reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
It has been moved and seconded that Substitute House Bill 1559 be reported out due pass. There are amendments. Representative Slatter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move adoption of Ross 014.
It has been moved and seconded that the amendment Ross 014 be adopted. Discussion. Representative Slatter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment was well briefed. Mostly it was corrections. For example, we accidentally included CTCs in a tribal college in the report that the four-year universities would provide, clarified dates and changed some survey timings. Probably the most substantive change is that we changed from one task force for the 4 years to multiple task forces. And that might seem counterintuitive because, you know, it adds more work. But what the universities have said is that some of them have already started to implement informal task forces or others and have started this work. And many of the ways that they've implemented it is within existing resources or looked at their local and regional needs. And they would like to continue doing that. And they feel that that actually would be more efficient. So I urge your support.
Thank you, Representative Slatter. Additional discussion. Representative Chambers.
Okay, thank you,
You want to
Mr.
vote
Chair.
on this?
We're on the amendment Ross 014. Rep. Chambers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're okay with the amendment, and I'll speak on the final passage.
Thank you. Will all members wishing to adopt the amendment Ross 014 indicate by saying aye?
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The amendment is adopted. There are additional amendments. Representative Chambers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Ross 015.
It has been moved and seconded. The amendment Ross 015 be adopted. Discussion. Representative Chambers.
Thank you. Well, we heard some testimony that, so many students are struggling with, meeting their food needs and housing needs. And so this directs this task force to look at some additional things that can be done on these school campuses with food issues like rolling over meal plans so that they're not ending at a semester, ways for students to accrue and earn meals with, work performed on campus or in student jobs. And then addressing housing is using the resource that universities have by connecting students seeking housing with those offering housing and students seeking housing with alumni that may have housing to offer. So asking for the committee's adoption of this amendment.
Thank you, Representative Chambers. Additional discussion, Representative Paulette.
Thank you. Those are, I think, some interesting ideas to explore, but the underlying bill is about sustainable services for students with benefit navigators. That would be services such as being able to connect with Work First or childcare services. There's a model at North Seattle College originated by the gentleman to my left that has proven extremely successful with this. And the important thing is to think that this bill is about those sustainable services and connections. Frankly, I'm concerned that the students who we're trying to connect with SNAP benefits can't even afford a meal plan. So I ask for a no vote and continue this discussion in other vehicles. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Paulette. Are there any other comments? Will all members wishing to adopt the amendment Ross 015, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. The noes appear to have it. The amendment is not adopted. There are additional amendments. Representative Gregerson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Henry 072.
It's been moved and seconded that the amendment Henry 072 be adopted, standard null and void. All those members wishing to adopt the amendment, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The amendment is adopted. Representative Gregerson.
Thank you. I move the adopted amendments be incorporated into Second Substitute House Bill 1559 and that the Second Substitute House Bill 1559 be reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
It's been moved and seconded that Second Substitute House Bill 1559 be reported out of committee, due pass. Discussion. Representative Slatter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In 2022, there was a post-secondary basic needs survey done, and it surveyed 10,000 students in 39 different colleges and 7 universities across the state. And what it found was that if you walked into a classroom of 100 kids studying, 50% of them would have basic insecurity. That means 50 students. 40 students would be hungry, 30 students would not have a home, or there would have experienced housing insecurity, and at least 10 would be homeless today in 2022. How are you supposed to get a college degree and learn if you cannot have food and housing? We must do better. And what I've learned as chair of the committee is that students come in front of us routinely to say that they have overcome this, but they are truly superheroes. And what we're trying to do is to allow people to get an education in this state, post-secondary education, apprenticeship, credential, certificate, or degree without having to be a superhero. House Bill 1559 directly addresses this basic needs and security faced by college students in several ways. One, it provides a benefit navigator grant program, so you have people who can connect you to assistance programs if you might not know where to go. In addition, funds that are given to CTCs, community technical colleges, will receive a 50% match from federal funding sources. So we can really, truly deliver aid to students. I want to thank the prime sponsor who's been a huge champion in supporting basic student needs and understanding this, and all the stakeholders, including the many students who've come forward to support this legislation. And I urge your support.
Thank you, Representative Slatter. Additional discussion. Representative Chambers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and we are going to be a no on this side today. As was mentioned earlier, many schools are already doing this, and these are not kids. These are adults in the post-secondary, primarily adults in the post-secondary higher ed institutions. So to a certain extent, it's duplicative and, adds additional layers of bureaucracy for the price of $12 million a year to have navigators to help students navigate when arguably most students have a navigation tool in their hand that it's, very easy to look up, local food pantries, food banks, housing resources in whatever community these adult students are at. Recommending a no.
Thank you, Representative Chambers. Are there any other comments? Seeing none, Ms. Norzai, will you please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Rep. Ormsby.
Ormsby, aye.
Ormsby, aye. Bergquist.
Representative Berkowitz votes aye.
Bergquist, aye. Gregerson. Aye. Gregerson, aye. Macri. Macri, aye. Stokesbury.
Stokesbury votes no, do not pass.
Stokesbury, no, do not pass. Chambers.
Chambers, no, do not pass.
Chambers, no, do not pass. Corey.
No, do not pass.
Corey, no, do not pass. Berg.
Berg votes aye.
Berg, aye. Chandler.
Chandler votes no, do not pass.
Chandler, no, do not pass. Rep. Chop.
Chop.
Chop, aye. Connors.
Connors, no, do not pass.
Connors, no, do not pass. Couture.
No, do not pass.
Couture, no, do not pass. Davis. Davis, aye. Dye.
Dye, no, do not pass.
Dye, no, do not pass. Fitzgibbon.
Aye.
Fitzgibbon, aye. Hanson. Excused. Harris.
Harris, nay, do not pass.
Harris, nay, do not pass. Lukanov. Lukanov, aye. Paulette.
Paulette, aye.
Paulette, aye. Riccelli. Riccelli, aye. Rude. Rude, no, do not pass. Ryu. Ryu, aye. Sandlin.
No, do not pass.
Sandlin, no, do not pass. Schmick.
No, do not pass.
Schmick, no, do not pass. Sin. Sin, aye. Simmons. Simmons, aye. Slatter. Slatter, aye. Springer. Springer, aye. Steele. Steele, nay, do not pass. Stonier. Stonier, aye. Theringer.
Aye.
Theringer, aye.
Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, will you please announce the tally?
Mr. Chair, there are 18 aye, 12 nay, 0, and 1 excused.
By your vote, second substitute House Bill 1559 is reported from committee with a do pass recommendation.